Hello, this is Henry Sterchi from Team Dakota, and you're listening to the Inner Circle podcast for the fans, by the fans.
Thank you for landing on Planet Xbox. You are now rocking with the Inner Circle, the official podcast of XboxMad.net. And this is your podcast for fans by fans, so salute to you, the mighty, mighty X units. I'm your moderator, KOR Straight Murder, and with Bmuny and Unified, together we are the Inner Circle. Unfortunately, today our team member Bmuny will not be able to make the interview with Mr. Henry Sterchi, creative director of Project Spark and dev from Team Dakota, one of many Xbox first-party studios. Subscribers, stay tuned to after the show to see if you won one of 2 starter packs from Team Dakota and Tick Podcast as a courtesy for listening and a thank you for participating in the Project Spark game. Without further ado, here is our show. So, first the team and I want to thank you for coming on the show and giving us the opportunity to talk about your game. Many Spark gamers and creators are excited to hear what you have to say on Project Spark, the community, and its future. But before we dig into the meat and potatoes, how did Team Dakota form and become a Microsoft studio? And now that the game is released, what is the team's primary focus currently?
Sure, no problem. And thanks a lot to you guys for having us on. We love what you are doing with the community and giving the community a voice and fielding questions from the community. And community is so important to us. And, we really made Project Spark for the community and the creators. So we're excited to be here, and thank you very much for the opportunity as well. So it's kind of a long story on how Team Dakota started, but I think the real kind of cool end of the story is the team really was formed just for Project Spark. It started about 5 years ago or so, where Sax Person, who's the head of Team Dakota in the studio, and I started up at Microsoft. We began work in an incubation group, and the incubation group was tasked with looking at sort of all the technologies that Microsoft possesses and what could they mean to gaming and the cloud and just a lot of, very first party. What are things that only Microsoft could do and leverage, cross-platform type of experiences and things like that. Mm-hmm. And we sort of took those experiences. And then about a year down the road from there, we got the opportunity to go to Xbox Live Arcade, where Sax was leading the group and I was the creative director. And we shipped a whole bunch of really great, arcade games and worked with some amazing developers.
Doritos Crash Course, man.
Doritos Crash Course, yeah. I mean, that was near and dear to me because I'm a big platformer. So, getting the jumping and the spacing and working with those guys. And it was cool because it was a contest. So it was actually a contest winner's idea. And it kind of ties Spark because we actually brought the contest winner's game idea to life, and it was really cool bringing that one to life. So stuff like that and Limbo, and I worked really closely with the Pinwall FX team, Zen Studios, which I love.
Wow.
We did a bunch of great stuff there, and we were focused on we figured live arcade, it means you're connected. So what are some of the cool things we can do, assuming people are connected, right? Some of the stuff you saw in like Trials with the leaderboards, and we extended that to like Hydro Thunder, where you could actually see sort of your ghost opponents. And then even with like Shadow Complex, right, where it's like, oh, you got this many kills. Oh, your friend's got this many, and it pops up, right? We started thinking like, how do we surface the community in a way that's not just deathmatch or competitive, but there's this cooperative community out there on Live. Live's so powerful, so what do we do? So we focused a lot on, that type of stuff in XBLA and bringing some of those revolutionary experiences to those games. The opportunity came up where Microsoft said, look, we're looking for some new IPs. At the time, we knew a new console was sort of on the horizon, and we want to, to kind of broaden and do some new stuff and break some new ground, and, we'll give you some room to do some blue sky thinking. So Sax and I took some time, and we sort of formed a core group with a bunch of other really core people and, some amazing technology and other designers and stuff. And we started, just looking at the game landscape and the culture and sort of what was going on and the prevalence of social media and, the community's role in games now, how they can affect things, People just recently talk about, the Mass Effect ending and things like that. Well, what if like the
Oh yeah.
community is along the journey from the beginning, right? Or, what if we started empowering the community to speak the language of game making and start to think about
Right.
these things? So we started thinking about that, and we said, the time is right, to do something big that, everybody can think of. So I love to dig way, way, way back. And I started thinking about what are things that, like, when people are born, they're sort of inherent, behaviors and things, right? These aren't learned things. These are things they can just do. Well, what I found out is, people can play, right? They make up their own games, they entertain themselves, and they can create. So started thinking, all right, I think we're kind of on to something here with gaming and the industry and the media. And Sack started saying, yeah, like YouTube sort of just anybody with a camera could make a video, and maybe it wasn't, the next blockbuster AAA movie, maybe it was, but, it was this voice and it was this thing that we could bring to people. So that's really where Project Spark came from and formed a studio around that notion.
Man, that's awesome.
That's an amazing story, man.
Yeah.
It's
That's an elaborate story.
Yeah.
It is. And, it's something that I really think, the timing was really right. It's one of those things. I mean, maybe we're even slightly ahead, right? We've been Twitch streaming with the community for, 2 years now. We we showed our alpha live. We just said, look,
Right.
here's our alpha. There's going to be some lumps that we're going to, take, and there's going to be some things, and we don't know how educated the community is going to be to know, what is a final thing and what isn't. And it was amazing. It was almost liberating from a standpoint of we saw early on this is working. The community cares, and the community wants it.
Yeah.
So it was a special project, and I've worked on so many genres over so many years, and that was that
aware.
Yeah, that's something that we me and Unified were talking about, and he hit me. He said, "Do you know Henry worked on Too Human?" And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "We have to ask him what went wrong with that game."
Well,
because
I think I like to think what went right too.
Right.
I think expectations were the biggest challenge around that situation, but I think at the end of the day, what we really set out to deliver was a melding, maybe like nobody has attempted, between action and RPG.
Right.
When it's not just about +1 to damage, it's about faster attack movements and bigger attack windows and slides and higher combos, right? So the RPG was complementing the action, and the action complementing the RPG. And I think what we set out to do was that, and I think we did a really good job, actually. Once you learn the intricacies of the game,
Right.
I think there was we made it harder for you to get into the game than it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
We made it tougher for you to learn some of those things. But I think expectations, really about letting people know what the game was up front,
Right.
and getting people sort of to embrace that vision and fall in love with it. I think that was one of the biggest things. But it is what it is, and some people look back on it now as sort of a classic, and some people look back on it as a controversy.
So Xbox One can arguably claim the title of the console for creators. With Project Spark leading the way, you have so many creators for both PC and Xbox, probably flooding you with so many questions. But mainly, gamers want to know: will it become easier with new tools to manipulate and use the brain, as many find it complicated? And are you guys working on a music editor for easier implementation of music, or possibly voice acting from Connect or PC programs?
Right. So that's a couple different things. So I'll try and break them down sort of one at a time. I think it's great to hear about the creators embracing our vision. It's like I talked about. That was sort of at the heart of everything. And I don't know if you guys have seen, we've got some amazing levels where our community is starting to become celebrities. Mr. X Bob, making sort of recreate Fable and his Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet. Yeah, it's got little Master Chief.
Yeah, I love the characters he made for that. And you've got stuff where like the creator that remade sort of the PT demo with RT.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
Yeah, that was nice.
It's great, and like you say, our vision was Xbox Live is this community. There's these lights that are always on. You're never alone. You're playing with hundreds of thousands, millions of other people at the same time. Like, how do we highlight that? And some of it is, you just go into Project Spark for free, download it on the dashboard, and you've got probably more hours of gameplay from stuff that people have made and that we've made for you than you can probably consume. So it shows the power of the live community and what's there. And I think to say it's for creators, it's great to say, Minecraft, great home for Minecraft, of course.
Right.
But don't overlook upload. I watch upload all the time, and I'm just blown away by, people broadcasting in their living rooms and doing some really professional and profound commentary. And again, it's about taking live into a platform where people can have a voice, where they can have a personality and a life behind their profile. And that's the stuff that we really want to do. So getting to kind of the brains part of it, I think we do a lot of stuff across the whole game. And it's very hard for anybody to kind of cover all of that acreage. I've always kind of worked with the philosophy, being a Nintendo guy for so long, and Miyamoto-san beat it into my head of, go deep, don't go wide, right? And Project Spark was very, very new territory because it's as wide as you can go. So when you think about the brains, we focused on 3 levels. And I think, it's not as discoverable as we want. It's something we want to work on. But first level of the brains is just putting something down and it works. And everybody can do that. And I don't think we expose that well enough because there's a little assembly tag. There's a door. You can make a lock and key puzzle. You can just put down an NPC fetch quest, pretty much just by clicking a button. And that's sort of the first.
Right, yeah. You have some pre-programmed stuff.
And then, the next layer we call remix, right? So you can go ahead and you can go into the brain and you can see there's a third-person camera tile. And just with one click, you just turn it into a first-person game. And that's like the most amazing thing, for me, right? Because I play the game with my kids, and they're constantly, we play this sort of like a whose line is it anyway sort of thing where it's like, and then I hand it back, well, you do this, right? And you get into something that somebody else made or something that exists that we've provided you, and you make that one alteration, but it's suddenly your own, and it sort of piggybacks what you learn now, like, it's pretty magical. Then you got, like, the deep build a brain from scratch, right? And
yeah, no, that's intricate.
And we did a lot of stuff there around, like, what we call tile compatibility. So what that really is, it's a recommendation engine for coding. And I think it's pretty revolutionary because I don't know too many other things that have done this, but, I don't, when I was messing around with BASIC and coding, like, you didn't know your stuff, broke or work until you tried to run it, right? But what Project Spark does is you put down move, and then you click modifiers, and it gives you strafe, swim, like it gives you things that are valid. So, whether you're a kid or an adult that has a specific idea, you can just explore and go down this chain of valid possibilities. And if you do something, that's not going to work, we go ahead and we sort of flag that and tell you. So we think we've got sort of these 3 layers. And I think that's one of the things, like, people jump in and they're like, all right, I'm going to make this specific thing from scratch, and day one and boom. And, maybe they should start off, putting some of the brains down and looking what they do and sort of building off the brains. Or maybe they can just jump straight into it, right? I think we want to support all those learning curves.
Yeah, it's very important. Very important.
The cool analogy that I have is, up until Project Spark, I've worked on a lot of conventional games. And if you think of something like Mario Brothers or a side-scroller, right, the kind of the pacing and the challenge, the game presents it for you itself, and then it ramps you up, right? So you start off, and you don't have to run, and there's no enemies, and there's a block, and you can just hit a block. And then all of a sudden there's an enemy, and now there's an enemy in a block, and then there's an enemy in a block, and there's a hole, and then you have to run because there's a jump that you have to run across, right? What we tried to engineer and what we built in Spark is you challenge yourself as you go and as you learn at your own pace, right? So what we see is people go, all right, I want this character to shoot. So they go in and they say, okay, when do shoot, right? And then they're like, well, I want to shoot the specific thing. And then they try and figure that out. And they're like, now that I got that working, when it hits this thing, I want it to do this specific effect. And I want to make the sound. And then, oh, wait, I want it to bounce off, right? And instead of like that forced progression, it's people challenging themselves. And it's a whole different level of immersion. It's a whole different learning curve. And it's a really different approach. So we want to continue to expand on it. We want to continue to provide people with different entry points and different tools into the brain coding.
Right.
But, like, I just want to keep reinforcing, like, there's different ways in. Don't get intimidated. You don't have to start from scratch. Play stuff people have made. Change one or two little things, and it's fun.
So it sounds like more than anything, it's just patience with the brain system. Just learning it, practicing with it before you start getting deep into it, and it maybe might not feel as complicated as some gamers think.
Well, I think, like, if you think about, like, historic game development, I feel like people create in Project Spark. You can play in Project Spark a million different ways. People create sort of two different ways. They go in with an idea, and they're like, I'm going to get this thing that I've always wanted to do. And I think that's when it gets a little trickier because you're looking into very specifics. But again, like, it takes a little while to get that designer or that coder mindset of, like, I'm going to do this one thing that stair steps into this next thing instead of doing 50 things at once. So that takes a little bit of time. But the other approach is doodling, right? Like, I've seen many times where great games and great ideas have sort of come out from doodles, right? Like Corner Traps and Street Fighter, I heard stories, that was a bug, that was an accident, right? So what we did is we made it so you're one button away from testing whatever you're working on. So we don't want you to just sit there in the brains for an hour straight like you would if you were coding. We want you to do something, play it, do something, play it, do something, play it, right? Because when you're a game developer and, it takes 3 months or it takes a month to get your engine running, it takes this much time to get your animation, like, that's a long time before you can iterate. And Project Spark removes all those barriers. Like, you can iterate from the first minute or two. So that's really how kind of
it's a very creative, deep development tool in some aspects. So that's awesome. That's why I'm a fan.
Cool. So that's a lot of the stuff we're trying to do with the brains. I think our overall philosophy is a little play on a famous thing. Is I've always said like our game should be simple to learn, fun to master.
Right.
And that should be the thing. Is like when you're programming and when you're learning how to code, it's not that fun, really, because why you're learning the program is because of that ends, right? You want the ends to the means. You want to see your character come to life. You want to make the game where Spark gets you that right up front. Mm-hmm. So as you're learning, you can keep having these little pieces of fun.
That's awesome. What are your thoughts on the music editor?
So the music editor is something, one of the things we say for Project Spark is we've exposed a lot of things that we kind of simplified, right? It's easy to sort of pick your combos. We've made these tools for you, and we put them on the surface. But we've been burned very many times thinking like, oh, this is impossible in Project Spark and you can't do it, right? So we don't say you can't do it. So technically, you can use countdown timers, you can use timelines, and you can do some music editing stuff in Project Spark right now. We partnered with Linkin Park, and we provided the full Guilty All the Same music track. We cut that up into a bunch of stems. We provided a, sort of a music mixer. So people can do a lot with the music right now, but it's not to the point where it's that super easy, high level, everyone can jump in and make their own music. So one day we'd love to get to something like that. But, there's levels right now in the community that have Christmas songs in them made just from notes and organizing and arranging them. There's games that take use of the Linkin Park music stems and make it so as you play, you're collecting things and remixing and altering the song. So there's a deep music kind of editor there now, but, we haven't made the editor sort of the focus of the create. And we've been asked that a bunch. I know Eric in the bakery on Twitter, he's always asking about it. So it's something, we're interested in doing, but, as you asked before, we're really sort of organizing, collecting data. We're seeing what people are doing, what they want, what they love, and that's sort of the next steps of Spark is to continue this journey with the community and focus on what they want. So keep asking for it, and that's the best way to get it prioritized.
I hear that. You hear that, guys? You just keep asking for the things that you need for what you want to create, and Team Dakota will try their best to get that to you, as soon as possible. I think that's awesome. They're listening to the community. You know, I think that's very important when it comes to game development. Hearing the fans and hearing what they want can only increase the install base and show how important they are to the game. So, the Xbox brand has been known to have a strong online network. And for being known as the console for multiplayer gaming, with 4-player co-op and creator mode already established, fans want to know, does Team Dakota plan to add a split-screen feature for creation and gameplay for those who want to create split-screen games to play locally?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something else where it sort of comes down to, the kind of prioritization of where we're going and where we're heading. We on the team, we love split screen gaming. There's a definite vision for Project Spark. We see a lot of stories around parents creating with their kids and stuff like that. And we love that sort of story. Split screen's a bit, we're doing a lot. We're sculpting terrain in real time. We're running thousands of lines of brain code, simultaneously, if that's sort of what you want for your game. So we're doing a lot of really intensive things, and split screen was one of the tougher things that we could have tackled. So, what we focused on was kind of same screen co-op. So you can make your own games, right now, same screen. You can do that co-op like the old Gauntlet experiences and things like that. And Champions Quest, which is sort of our adventure mode, our campaign mode. You can play two players on the same screen. But what we really wanted to do was, we had this dream. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the group Postal Service.
No, I don't.
Postal Services. It was sort of these indie super people. It was, and it was about bringing them sort of together. And they did it all over the did it all over the mail, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we really focused on multiplayer online. We wanted people to collaborate. We wanted them to kind of find their roles and team up with other people. The person who loves doing programming with the person who loves doing gameplay or level design or art and making things beautiful. And, it's a pretty big undertaking to be able to take people sort of, back and forth online, making a game together, across the country, across the world. And, when you look at the power that our 4-player, simultaneous creation brings over live, we invested a ton of that. We had a lot of our team, just really focused on making that a very magical experience, and we're going to continue to expand on that. We've got some updates that make, joining in a bit more friendly and things like that. But at the end of the day, imagine, working in Photoshop together with somebody, or, working in Maya or Max across the world together, and that's what we wanted Project Spark to be. And we wanted to go after online because, we felt like that was sort of the big collaborative thing to chase. Maybe. Never say never.
Yeah, there you go. You never say never, guys. I'm sure it'll come eventually. Just like he said earlier, keep asking.
Yep. Keep supporting and keep letting us know what you guys love and want.
Right. So, with so many games being created, sometimes it can be hard to promote your game and get gamers to play your creation, especially with games being across multiple platforms, with Xbox One and PC. What are your plans to better integrate the Project Spark website and social media into the game to better promote new content? And speaking of new content, are there plans for a 2D side-scrolling creation set?
Cool. So, I think you guys have seen some of the variety that's in the community right now. So, we've been just completely enamored with stuff. We've got, I believe one of our levels is 175,000 downloads. I mean, when you just think about that and you take that in, something somebody made with the Project Spark, 175,000 downloads. I mean, that's
incredible. That's crazy.
I remember when I first got in the industry, that would be amazing, if you got 175,000 people in your game.
Right.
So, we definitely are seeing some breakout hits. We're seeing some things that are getting, great attention. I think some of it is sort of organic. You've got creators that have their own networks. They have their own YouTube channels. The media is even starting to profile some of these bigger creations. And, people are making trailers for their own game. I think that's a great way to go about it because your identity is there. Your personality comes through. And at the end of the day, the people you're bringing in to take a look at your game, you're owning them. You're bringing them into your channel and you're introducing them to you, right?
Right.
So we love to see people doing that, and that's a great thing. But, we also want to give them the mechanisms to support that in game. So, a lot of things we've done so far to date is, we do a regular Twitch stream. The team comes on. We play a lot of the community levels on the Twitch stream live. One of the most magical moments was we had Phil come on, and we gave him a couple games to play. And one of the guys who made it, was in the stream. And you just see in the chat somebody just explode.
Phil's playing my game.
Right. And we have the team come in. And we were actually joking today. We do a Friday review where one of our community guys sits down and leads just a big room full of people through, like, what are some of the coolest levels he found for the week. And we joke around and we make comments and we talk about the levels and we talk, you know what, we're going to try and put just a camera in the room. And we're just going to stream that and let people see like the team is playing their levels.
That's awesome.
So that's some of the stuff that we do. You know, we've talked about, you know, maybe doing like a top 10 show from our standpoint and putting that out there so people could see it. We've had some great partnerships with Xbox UK. They've done some great top 10 lists. You know, a lot of bloggers and YouTubers, you know, they've done like top 10 profiles in the community. So that's the stuff we love because it's not just our opinion on the games. It's the community's opinion on their own
It's everyone,
stuff.
yeah, everyone's opinion.
Exactly. So in-game wise, you know, we have a feed, and the feed is editorialized, and it's the thing you see on the front page, and that drives a lot of the traffic. You know, we tell people, you know, make a cool name for your game that really exemplifies what your game is. Take a great screenshot for your game. You know, put a good description in for your game. Those are the type of things that draw people's eye. You know, it's just like walking into a GameStop and which game catches your eye on the shelf. You know, people have to think about kind of promoting their own games in a little bit of that way.
Right.
So, you know, some of the great stuff, you know, we don't always just put sort of the best on that front page. We put, like, the coolest thing we've seen, the most surprising thing. I mean, we have a horror game in there right now, a racing game. We have somebody who told their own, like, adventure story with, like, lore and bosses and characters. So we throw a variety of stuff in the featured feed. You know, but beyond that, what we have is, you know, sort of the full community. We have a search. We have the website where people can search on. And then we're actually mixing up and doing a bunch of different feeds. So right now we have, and this brings you into sort of your next question, we have a sci-fi feed, which is games that are made with the sci-fi theme. We have a 2D feed. So things that we want to feature for Halloween, we featured horror games. So we're editorializing the feeds more. And we're trying to bring the great games out. We're tweaking some of the recommendations where if you play this game, it gives you some of the other ideas. We're toying around with maybe like a Hall of Fame feed and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know, we want the community to also tell us, you know, how do you guys want to see your levels promoted and played too? So that brings me real quick to the side-scrolling thing. So one of the feeds we call our starter kits. And inside these feeds, some of the community has made things that lock your character to a 2D plane and gives you sample code for like how to do lock and key stuff, how to do jump stuff. So you can go into games that people made. You can go into these starter kits and you can do 2D side-scrolling stuff from there. We don't have plans like right now to do like a full tutorial series around 2D side-scrollers. But just go into the game, go into the community, and search either starter kits or 2D games. And go into them and edit them, and you can start off like that, making your own 2D side-scrollers. And there's some really, really good ones out there already.
Yeah, that's a very smart way to go about it, man. That's a smart thinking way to go in there and start your own 2D game instead of, you know, waiting on a content pack for 2D side-scrolling.
Yeah, totally. And you know, when it comes to content packs, we are thinking about more 2D objects and HUD materials and stuff. We just recently... you know, we do a steady stream of content that's available both with in-game credits, just for sort of playing the game and sharing things and completing challenges, as well as, you know, tokens, so you can just buy them right away if you want to. And we've just expanded some of our offerings. You know, we've got animals now available. We just put up an owl pack. We did a really cool necromancer Halloween one, and we do have some more things around, you know, other areas that we haven't done in before, and some of the stuff we've been talking about is 2D stuff as well.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, you already touched on as far as other worlds and other themes, but something that some of the fans wondered, because, you know, Microsoft owns some of the most iconic franchises in game history.
Yes.
And the first character that you guys will be working, or shall I say, the first character that's in the game is Conker. So, you know, some of us fans want to know, is it possible to maybe see video game themed worlds like Halo, Gears of War, or other character assets like a Banjo-Tooie or other characters along those lines in Project Spark?
Right. So, you know, I mean, I have a history working with Rare and from my time on Nintendo, so, you know, a lot of those classic franchises are super near and dear to me as well. So, you know, I love seeing those things take the limelight again and stuff like that. And, you know, Conker really started with, after we had Phil on our Twitch stream, I think it was literally like a couple days after, or maybe even the same day, somebody tweeted him and said, this is great. You're sort of handing the torch over to creators. Like, what if you put Conquer in Project Spark? And that's really where Conquer started off from, was that notion of, hey, people are asking for this.
He said somebody tweeted him that, correct?
Yeah, somebody tweeted him that.
All right, yeah, that was me. That was me.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, man. I
direct
messaged Phil and told him that it would be an amazing idea to actually use some of your franchises and actually get them into Project Spark, especially Rare. And I mentioned, I mentioned Conquer and I mentioned Banjo possibly in the future. But
Wow.
So you got the ball rolling there. So that's the new age. That's how things can work now, So Conquer came up, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. I loved Conquer. I worked with Team a bit when I was at Nintendo. And, we said Conquer is sort of the ultimate freedom of expression. If we can turn Conquer over to the fans and give them a way in, wow, that would be amazing. And I think, Phil came out, and he was very clear of, this doesn't rule out other stuff with Conquer and things like that. So I would say, seeing what happened with Conquer, anything is possible. We definitely want to use Conquer as sort of the first test bed. We're devoting a lot of our attention to that. We want to get Conquer right before we jump ahead and do a lot of other stuff. But you got the connection, so you direct message him some more and get us some more work.
We will definitely be doing that.
Well, we talked. Yeah, me and Wood will be handling that. Don't worry.
I think the other side of the spectrum is the Microsoft IP and the characters, and that's great. Stuff that can really breathe a lot of life into Spark. But as we released, with the retail starter pack that's available now, and you guys are giving some away, it comes with the sci-fi pack. So we started with sort of this, make your own sort of fantasy. We call it Woodlands theme. That stuff's all free. It's right there available. And we've expanded it to sci-fi. And then, Conquer, we sort of feel is that next kind of theme for us. But, we want to do more themes, and we want, to hear what the community wants. They've talked about modern stuff, superheroes, the Old West, and things like that. These are things that, aside from any specific IP, Project Spark has its own themes that we want to continue to evolve as well.
Right. That sounds very, very fun. It sounds like so much fun, especially for creators. And I know gamers will love not playing the same thing over and over. There's so much diversity in this game. It's an amazing game, an amazing tool.
Is there one thing I wanted to ask? Is there any ballpark figure on when we might actually start to get some more information on the Conquer DLC, or even a release window?
I'm not sure on when we're going to start giving information. Really what we're doing right now is just we're trying to make sure that we're really hitting all the marks that we want to hit. We've talked about authentic to the characters and sort of capturing things, and I have a vision of sort of, Bad Fur Day is near and dear to me. So I like to think about things of like, what happened to Barry, and, what kind of happened with Panther, and where did some of those things go? And I just get excited about doing this in a way that is authentic to Conquer, but really, really lets the community run wild with the stuff and do some really fun things. I think it's going to take us time before we sort of talk about and reveal the plans, but there's a lot of love for the material on Team Dakota. So, we're digging very deep into Conquer, and we're going to take some time with it.
That sounds awesome. I look forward to that. I really do.
Cool. And another thing, community, send over, the characters you guys love, the things you want to see, the ideas. Again, we listen to all these things.
Oh, I'll be tweeting Phil. Don't worry about that.
I think you got more juice than I do getting things going with our tweet.
Yeah. We're going to apologize to Phil now if we feel like we're spamming you with ideas. So let's just get that out the way right now.
Yeah. We're sorry.
So Project Spark is one of those games that consistently breathes life into creativity and fun to gamers looking for new and original experiences. So with my final question, I'll make it a 3-part one. Fans want to know if Team Dakota would allow multiple cameras on screen at once for things like mini maps and obviously like split screen, things along those lines. Will you guys take character customization to the next level, maybe adding motionless or custom stances? And finally, what is the team's vision for the future of Project Spark?
Cool. That's definitely a lot of individual questions. So,
Yeah.
so the first one with the cameras. Our camera system is sort of always evolving. We want to get, our in-game camera stuff, to be as good and as polished as possible. And even up until the last patch, we've been making some more changes and polish there. So I think before you see sort of the ability to have multiple cameras and viewports and things like that, we've got some more kind of camera house cleaning to do. So I think, not to set expectations in the wrong direction. It's something we'd love to do, but I don't think it's going to be sooner. It'll probably be a little bit later before we start exploring things like that. But I do go back to, the stuff that we think might not be possible and is, because there's a bunch of people who have shared things like mini maps and stuff like that right now. And, what we always say is, like, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to do? Because often people think it has to be this one specific way, it has to be written, or they have to do something this one way. But really it's about the spirit of the idea and what are they trying to accomplish. And there's all kinds of workarounds and things like that. I wasn't sure if a mini-map was possible, and one of our community members sort of threw it down on the table at the Twitch stream and said, yeah, haha, I did it. And we were like, you did? How did you do it? So, I can't rule out, like, the spirit of what people want to do with that stuff. It's possible to work around it, but as far as truly supporting it in game, that's going to take us some time. It is something that we've talked about, and we have some designs for it, but it's not super soon. Taking character customization to the next level. That's another really good question. We've been expanding some of the clothing options on the characters. We're constantly adding things like weapons. We've added the ability to tint and color change, all aspects of characters. And I think one of the things that's interesting is, if you look at a lot of character customization editors, one of the things I really feel we do well and that's really strong in Project Spark is, you can really customize the colors of very individual things with the clothing, and then you can attach things onto the characters. So, I just saw a level today in the community that people were sort of replicating Bikini Bottom and all the fun characters from there. So by using attachments and coloring and some really creative stuff, people have made, giant mecha robot transformer things and all kinds of stuff. So the characters are really, really customizable right now. If you start digging into things like, some of the stuff like Tiger Woods and the sports games we love and face morph targeting and things like that, that's something that would be further out for us. But we plan on offering more preset things and more customization in faces and body types and potentially even like texture aging and stuff like that. We plan on offering that to take the characters to that stuff. So we have more body types and things like that coming. We introduced the Brute character, who's sort of a big kind of, I won't necessarily cartoony, but more of an exaggerated sort of, big Titan or Colossus type of class. And we do want to do more stuff like that. As far as like custom stances and things like that, one of the things that's cool with, Xbox One that just blows my mind every time I do it is, the Kinect, we basically, Project Spark comes with a free motion capture studio, essentially.
Right.
So with Kinect, you can go in and you can say emote, and then you can say record, and you can put your own animation on the characters. And what's really cool is if you make the character invisible, you can actually have your own voiceover audio. So there's a game up there called Home Alone right now where like the creator actually acts out this horror game. He's like, Mom, Dad, help, and stuff like that. And he's doing it with the Kinect. And he's doing it through some of the motion capture. And we've seen people do, dances with the Kinect captures and put their own attacks in the game and stuff like that. And what's cool is when it comes to stances and stuff, we have something in the game that's called pace. It's like a time factor, so you can slow things down to like 0. So you could totally give a character a pose, lock it at 0, and be able to make your own stances right now.
Wow.
That's nice. All right. Yeah.
So a lot of cool stuff. So the last one, that's a really big one. And I'm gonna talk for like a minute, and I want to throw it back to you guys, and I want to know what do you sort of see as the vision for Project Spark's future? Because we've had people ask us everything from are you going to other platforms? Are you going to allow import of like our own objects? Are you going to go for different themes? Are you going to make more games in it? Right? We built our own game in Project Spark Champions Quest.
Right.
it's all about empowering the creator and making sort of the most user-friendly, accessible, and available game creation tool ever.
Right.
And I can't say right now if that means any one of those specific things, importers, other platforms, but that is our vision. It is to continue building on that, and it's to continue to make it so everyone can make games. You know, one of the reasons why we wanted to do free-to-play was we wanted, you know, that kid who maybe isn't growing up, you know, with everything they ever, you know, wanted or whatever, and they can get access to this. You know, we wanted the barrier to entry to be so easy that anybody can sort of see their vision. And what I love seeing is, you know, we had the community. We actually had community members demo this game at PAX for us. And one of the best stories ever is somebody walked over and they thought the demoer was part of the team, and they said, "Wow, this level is amazing. You know, how long did it take you to make this?" And you know, they passionately talked about it. And they said, "So what do you do?" And he goes, "What do I do? I'm a mechanic." They were like, no, like, what do you do game development? And he's like, no, I don't work on the team. I'm a mechanic. Right? And that's what I want to see. You know, kids in school, you know, they're learning great things, but are they learning the things that give them the job opportunities in the future? Are they being introduced to technology in a fun way? Are, you know, us, you know, hardcore gamers, like one of the biggest barriers we had was like, we play a game and we just take it for granted. You know, that's the scripted scene we get. The pillar's going to fall on our character. The screen's going to go red. He's going to black out, and somebody's going to resuscitate him, right? Well, Project Spark says, no, you know, it's not static anymore. Change that. Think about what you would have done. Like, get involved. Make your own game. Like, think about, like, gaming on more than sort of this level where you're a bystander and now you're a participant. And that is the future vision for Spark, is to keep doing that.
I think, in my opinion, as someone who always wanted to be a game developer, you know, obviously I won't say I missed my boat, but I didn't get the opportunity that I wanted to go to school for game development. But I write stories and I write franchises and I create worlds. And I think Project Spark gives me the opportunity to put those things and bring those things to life. Is one of the reasons why I truly appreciate a game like this,
Yes.
being on the Xbox platform. I'm not a PC gamer. I'm a straight console gamer. So having it on Xbox alone gives me the opportunity to create the games that I want to create. And obviously, when you have a game like that, you want to expand to as many people as possible to have as many creations as possible. But also, as an Xbox guy, I'm all about exclusivity. So so for me, I think Project Spark definitely needs to expand, maybe mobilely, maybe on Surface, maybe on Windows Phone. I wouldn't hit Apple. It's nothing against Apple. But like I said, I'm just a little bit loyal exclusively to Microsoft platforms, and I think hitting mobile would open up a lot of things, as well as hitting mobile phones.
Tablets,
and stuff like that as well.
Well, we run on, you know, on a Surface Pro. We don't run on the RTs.
Right.
But you know, taking advantage of, you know, from your exclusivity, kind of taking advantage of the Microsoft technology is, you know, we couldn't do Spark without it, you know. So it's definitely something where, you know, we'd love to get it in the hands of as many people as possible, and we'd love to continue taking advantage of present, past, and future Microsoft technology. So I think mobile is a good point of something, you know. I think it could take a lot of different kind of permutations. It could be just a brain editor on mobile.
Right.
It could be, it could be you turn your game into a mobile mode on your Xbox, and now you can just make games for mobile. Like, I think we've got a lot of possibility there, and it's definitely something that, you know, as part of our vision, is something we're talking about and we need to be talking about here.
Mike, you have any final words?
Henry, man, I'll say this. You'll have me as a loyal fan as long as you, like the things with Conquer, as long as you continue to deliver in the future more content packs, you know, kind of centralized around Conquer, Microsoft characters, and maybe tweaking the brain, programming the brain a little bit as you go. And I know you said that you guys plan to do that long term as you go, and then the character customization, that's a must.
Cool.
Yeah, more customization for clothing and different stuff like that. Is the more you can add, and the more you're gonna continue to grow your install base, man, for sure.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and I mean, we feel Project Spark, is an amazing experience right now. That you can just download it and get a great experience, but it's always a work in progress from the standpoint of it's always evolving. So we
Yeah,
can always
exactly.
do better and add more, and give me a heads up on what you're going to tweet Phil, so I know what I'm working on next.
we'll definitely do that. We'll try our best. I want to thank you, Henry, for coming on the show and again giving us this opportunity to chat with you about Project Spark. I was very impressed with the things that you said, and I look forward to it. And I hope the fans got the answers that they were looking for. And if you didn't get the answers you're looking for, guys, please go on to projectspark.com. Hit up the community. You can speak with Mike. I know Mike runs that. You can leave messages there. You can send Twitter shots out to the Project Spark team. Anything that's on your mind, anything you want to suggest, these guys are listening to you. Your feedback is important to them just as much as getting them to do things for you is as important to you. So it's a team effort. That's Team Dakota. That's what we're all Team Dakota. So that's what it's all about. I think it was a great talk, Henry, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys very much, and like I said, give it a try. Download it now, Windows 8.1 and on Xbox One. It is free, and you'll be able to spend hundreds of hours with the free stuff and playing, everything.
Literally, there's tons of content.
Yeah, so just give it a shot, and if it's cool and it's interesting, or if there's some stuff you want to see, or you just want to let us know what you thought, send it over. We're listening, and thank you guys. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think, you guys are going to just continue to blow up and do great things. And I just really love the format where you take the questions from the community and, you give them a voice for the developers, because it's not like the old days where, we release a game and 6 months later we see sale figures and we go, hey, I hope that people like that. We can't do that anymore. We can't build like that. We have to be a part of the community, and the community has to be a part of us. These games are for everybody now, and they're part of it.
Yeah, don't worry, Henry. We're coming, man. We're coming.
Well, if it's anything like the way you guys message on Twitter, I know that you're going to be on it. So.
Oh, we're going to be on it, man.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you. And now to announce our winners of the Project Spark Starter Packs, courtesy of Tick Podcasts and Team Dakota. And our winners are Fraser Jean and Miss Amber Hartland. Please contact us on Twitter at TIC_podcast. That's TIC_podcast in the next 24 hours to receive your starter pack codes. If we don't hear from you within that 24-hour period, we will then redo a raffle for our subscribers and hand them over to the next set of winners. And that's it for our show this week. Stay tuned as we release new episodes every other Friday night or Saturday morning with the latest fan topics, shoutouts, Xbox fan guests, rumors, and opinions. And of course, check me out weekly for Straight Pod Shots, where I do a short podcast on what the buzz is in the game industry, along with TIC reviews hosted by Scotty Jim and Doc. Thank you for listening and for your support. Please comment and subscribe. For the fans, by the fans, we're off this planet. Peace.
For the fans, by the fans.